I wasn't starstruck with him.
Really?
Not really.
Really?
I think I saw you and thought, you're here? You know, like, oh, okay, him.
I love your shoes.
Oh, thanks.
Fits perfect with the jacket.
Are those the Wales Bonner Adidas, or are they just, they're great? Whatever they are.
Is it actually pronounced as Adidas?
Oh no, I think it's Adidas.
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 I say Adidas.
I say Adidas here, but Adidas in
Yes, sorry,
America.
right.
I don't know what the Germans say. It's a German brand. Sorry, yeah, sorry.
I'm Kit Connor.
Hi, I'm Will Poulter.
And I'm the Woon-A-Tai.
I'm Kit Connor,
I'm Michael Gandolfini.
and we're getting up close.
With Cosmopolitan UK.
How did you prepare for the role?
I prepared. We had a boot camp, which really sort of drilled kind of the actor out of us. So we went through everything from gun training, military tactics, radio checks, and sort of radio terminologies, medical applications, and sort of very brief education in all things military. So through that, we sort of allowed ourselves to bring character to all the things we were doing and sort of would always fall back onto our training. And so through that, our relationships formed and our friendships formed and our brotherhood formed. And I would say that was the main way we really prepped, along with speaking to our counterparts and speaking with Ray and all the other people who served to sort of get the most insight we could.
Everyone had, I think, individual preparations to consider based on their true life counterpart, and that sort of manifested as various different kind of conversations with the gentleman we were responsible for representing. But the thing that was sort of unifying and the kind of common denominator in terms of preparation is concerned was the 3.5-week boot camp. And doing that was key to not only, I think, developing a skill set to be able to sort of give our best efforts towards representing a group of Navy SEALs, but also it was critical to developing the sort of emotional bonds and the sense of closeness and camaraderie that underpins every action in the film, and allowed us to sort of operate as a team. So that boot camp was critical from a sort of technical, physical standpoint, and also I would say, an emotional and mentality perspective.
And just to piggyback off what he said, first and foremost, I want to say that when I was first introduced to Ray after being casted, he sent me multiple videos regarding air traffic control, because my gentleman who I play is a JTAC communication, so a lot of times with the radio, I didn't really realize that your regular airport people, your airport pilots especially, are ex-military a lot of the times, and so they're used to this sense of flow, how they talk. It's a very alien language to a civilian like me. So a lot of that, a lot of watching documentaries regarding, BUDS training, the Iraq War as a whole. And one thing that I just want to bring out there as well is that I was also told to steer clear, in a sense, from other films depicting what happened in Iraq. A lot of times that, Mr. Mendoza, when I'd rather say me, I feel like, it's very undepicted accurately. And sometimes, sadly, not to put any of the films down the bus, but, sometimes films make it look like it's cool to go to war. They romanticize it. And this is something that even Ray acknowledges and didn't want us to feed into. So, yeah.
Pharaoh, you play Mendoza. What was it like working with him, and how did you make sure that you got him right on camera?
Great question. What was it like working with Ray Mendoza, or playing him, depicting him? There's a lot of pressure, to say the least. I had a lot of pressure on my shoulders. I don't want to downplay everybody else's position, because everybody else had somebody, their true-to-life counterpart that they were responsible for depicting accurately. But I was very lucky, because he was behind the camera and for every moment of the whole process. So if I ever needed a question, any internal question, anything in between, he was there for me. But as much as it was pressure on my shoulders, it was way more pressure on Mr. Mendoza's shoulders. He represented he's representing a whole community, depicting a whole community on his behalf. And amount of pressure it is for how many stereotypes in Hollywood that, you know, depicts military culture, sadly, you know, inaccurate, and for him to break down those stereotypes, it was a lot of pressure. Yeah.
What did it feel like going from playing fictional characters to playing real people, some of whom were in the room with you?
I think it's always kind of quite exciting as an actor to be able to do that, you know, to be able to have a real life person to kind of use as a basis, and to have real genuine perspectives about the subject matter and the story that you're telling. So that was really, really cool. You know, and it kind of means that you don't have limitations, but you have a responsibility to kind of stay in that world that we're trying to portray.
Did you ever worry that you might get it wrong or not fully do their character justice?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Although, you know, no more than, you know, as an actor, you got to you're always trying to get it right. Yeah. So I think that we were obviously trying to play these real people, but we were also just trying to, you know, we were trying to get the job done, really. So I think it was...
Yeah. And we had a lot of people there to check in with and sort of use for help and guidance and see what we were doing wrong or what wasn't right.
How much involvement did the veterans have with this film?
Complete involvement, really. I mean, first and foremost, you know, Ray Mendoza, yes, brought this story, you know, this in a sense first draft to Alex, but throughout the whole process, from beginning to end, you know, he would meet. I'm not gonna try to speak on his behalf, but they would meet up with different veterans who were there that day, and those veterans would, you know, put their 2 cents, their story into the script. So it was just as much as it was Ray's memory, it was everybody's memory, because almost everybody who was there that day got to put their story into it.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's another thing about the process as well that people wouldn't necessarily know, but a lot of the times the veterans that you know, were there that day and were being represented were physically on set.
Yes.
So obviously Ray was every day, and you know, directing DeFaro or himself, if you like. But you know, Elliot was regularly on set. You know, the gentleman that Joe Quinn plays regularly on set. The gentleman that Charles Melton plays regularly on set. The gentleman Noah Centino plays regularly on set. So these things, you know, just only bolstered the authenticity and made sure that it had, I think, the kind of approval and stamp of authenticity from the individuals who lived it.
What was the most challenging moment for the both of you?
Anytime I had to like talk to Kit or sort of like, you know, like act with him, it was just like would take me out, you know, just sort of like, can you just like, you know what I mean? So would you say that about me, or did I just sort of like come in and I just blew you away?
Luckily, I didn't have many scenes with Michael. In a sense, we didn't have many interactions.
Sometimes just being in a room with him, though, it's just kind of like...
Yeah, he creates an energy of sort of...
power.
We have you starstruck, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't starstruck with him.
Really?
Not really. Not really.
Really?
I think I saw you and thought, you're here? You know, like, oh, okay, him. You know,
yeah, you're like,
what strings did you pull? No, I was. I think actually one of the hardest bits, you know, on a serious level, you know, was probably that we did very long takes. So trying to keep the energy, and some could and some couldn't. Some kind of couldn't really like hack the sort of 15-minute takes. And
yeah, I agree. I think
said
okay, well, I'm just gonna add on to what you were saying, you know, in like maybe a better way. No, I don't have anything bad.
And you've spoken about boot camp, and obviously in this film you guys have got the gear on your back and things like that, and you're running around. Was it physically draining? How physically demanding was it?
Yeah, it was definitely quite a feat. It's, you know, I don't work out that much, like, so like it was definitely. I mean, I really appreciated Alex and Ray were so respectful about it in regards to me, like, when we first met, we spoke pretty extensively about how physical this movie is going to be, but they had such an emphasis, like, we do not want anyone to change their bodies. We do not want that. That is not the goal. The goal is to have strength so that you're able to do the things that are required. Carry Cosmo, wear 60 pounds on your back. And so any of the physical stuff, sometimes it can be so much about the sort of viewer and what they're watching and about your body. And this was not about that. It was about function. It was completely about function. And there were days that were really hard. I had to do that fall. I have a little bit of a fall, so I had to do that quite a lot. I had to carry Cosmo, and Kit's gun was like, 35 pounds, 40 pounds?
Yeah, it was heavy.
It was heavy, and he had to hold that thing up every day.
When I got offered the job, Alex kind of said to me, you might not want to do this. He was like, if you're not, it's like, he was like, you're going to be carrying a very heavy gun. Yeah. It's going to be physically very taxing. It's not going to be like a normal acting experience in that way. Not to say that isn't always the case, or that it isn't the case ever again. But it was very much, it was a very physically taxing job. Obviously, we're doing a fraction of what the people that we're portraying were doing, but
sure.
We're actors, we're little sort of puny actors. So it took a step up in that regard. Yeah.
Have you watched it back, and what do you think? Because I saw it yesterday, and it was a lot for me who isn't in it. So what's it like for you guys?
I think one of the words that keeps coming up in respect of the viewing experience with this film is intense. And I think that's only fair. I think it doesn't shy away from the intensity of warfare environments, and ultimately it deals with the negative consequences of war. I think for us, the feelings are mixed. Obviously, we feel immense pride in being able to, have been a part of this. But also, I think we're really excited at the prospect of audiences watching this and getting a kind of more realistic understanding of war, because we're in the same shoes in many respects, in that prior to this experience, our understanding of war was based on what currently exists. And without being disparaging of any movies, they've just taken maybe a different approach to depicting war, where there's been an emphasis on making it entertaining, or as you quite rightly said, trying to sort of maybe sell this idea that war is defined by more positive outcomes than it actually is, and that it's sort of, dare I say, cool. And so I think we're excited at the prospect of people maybe developing a better understanding of what war is through watching it, and getting the chance to see it as a group was also really exciting. And we've done a number of screenings as well with veterans, and I think to come into contact with this idea that veterans feel more accurately represented, and then civilians also feel like they're developing a more complete and accurate understanding of war is truly very, very satisfying. And it's great to know that that's the potential social application of this film.
And this is added even a little bit further. We got a chance to watch it a good few times in these past few weeks, and every single time it's the same. I mean, I don't think, it became normal to hear the ID explosions, or to not rattle when you hear these gunshots go off. I feel like, as much as if we filmed it, we're not desensitized in the sense to, what is exposed on screen. And every time I watch it, I feel the exact same, heartbeat racing in my heart, etc.
How did you keep up the mood on set?
We used a lot of levity, we, as our counterparts would have, we used, jokes, we had bits, we had, we were very close, especially by the point we started filming. So even in those lighter moments, we knew each other well enough that we could, we could read the room. We could see what people needed. If Michael was feeling especially glum that day, then I knew that if you give him a tickle, then he would, and that was because I knew Michael so well. Yeah. If you tried to tickle Cosmo Jarvis, he would get upset. So you sort of read the room. And
He would get
he would
upset.
get upset.
It didn't stop us.
It didn't
really.
stop us
Yeah.
at times.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. But he was, everyone kind of knew how to act because we could kind of talk to each other just from looks and things.
Right.
I'm incredibly proud of it. I think it's really, really nice when you do a job and it feels like you've kind of achieved the original intention of the film, and the original intention was to play it was the pursuit of truth, and take all of the memories that have all been corroborated by everyone there, and just try and portray exactly as far as closely as we could do it, exactly what happened and what took place. So that was really cool, and I also just surrounded by really great actors, so it's always nice,
Is there anything that surprised you that you didn't initially think when coming to this script?
I was shocked on the levity front. We actually had talked pretty extensively during boot camp about sort of the responsibility of, I think, everyone, but specifically Joe and Cosmo, and just we had kind of thought about, we want to create the most sort of loving and nurturing and helpful environment, whether that was, being really quiet, being locked in for them. And it just sort of came out that the levity aspect not only added to our brotherhood, but sort of, and it makes sense. Like, I think when you do perform extremely intense scenes, sometimes to tap into the polar opposite when the camera's cut actually allows you to go a little further when they roll. If you stay in it, it sort of can really drain you. You'll lose the stamina. So I was definitely surprised by that, and just how, I'm not surprised, but I'm just so grateful about how moving the entire experience is. How moving on so many different levels, not only getting to meet the men we did and hear their stories, but also the lessons learned from Alex and Ray and all those guys who were able to come, and just how unbelievably proud I am to have worked across like some of the best actors of this generation. Like, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, the script kind of was like read like a transcript, so it was kind of like devoid of emotion in a lot of ways. It was just what happened, and then it was our job essentially to kind of fill in the gaps of that and characterize them, and so I think that was probably the biggest surprise for me, or not surprise, but that was something that was a challenge, and that was something that did come to be, was us having to sort of take the words and make them human.
Is there anything that happened behind the scenes that we didn't see that you think is like crucial to the movie, or anything that stands out to you?
I mean, that's a really good question. I think there are things that happened in respect of how this was made that make it unique or contributed to what a kind of unique depiction it is. The one that comes to mind is the way that radio communication was sort of executed. So on a kind of typical film set, when you see someone on a phone call, or in respect of the sort of war film genre, if I can use that term, you see someone on the radio, more often than not they'll be radioing with, say, a PA or a member of crew. And in the first half of the movie, there are sort of two OPs that aren't physically on screen, but those boys came in every single day, and more often than not, they were posted up in a kind of communication shack. And when they weren't training or, going through drills to be better prepared to come in physically on screen, they were in that communication shack, and they were on the other side of our radios and genuinely communicating with us. And that was just invaluable. And I think it's kind of, just an important anecdote, because it sort of speaks to the authenticity with which every single aspect of this film was made in.
Yeah, these guys put a lot of dedication into it. Those who came onto set every single day just to be there. I mean, in all honesty, where they were located, the little box they were located in was next to the restrooms. So we called it the shit box because, it had a little stench in there for a good time. Yeah, had a little stench in there for a while. So these guys take it even further besides just coming to set every single day, also having to be in there for multiple hours just for us, not even being on screen, just for us. And again, a PA could be doing that instead. And that wasn't the case. So thank you, everybody who came onto set every single day.
And your fans are used to seeing you in very different things, so I'm sure a lot of your fans will be coming from those shows to watch you in this. What do you hope that they'll take away from it?
From a personal perspective, as us all as actors, I hope that they can kind of look at it and from an open mind and not see us as those characters and kind of like immerse themselves in that world. But I also think one of the intentions of this film is to again portray what happened, lay out the facts, and leave people to kind of take what they will from it. So there's an element of that.
What do you both have coming up next, or what would you like to do next?
I can't share, but I'll tell you what I'd love to do. I'd love to work with any one of these gentlemen again.
Yeah.
I would, any one of them you could pick, and I'd say yes. I'd be very, I will try and make that happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm filming a season 2 of Daredevil right now.
I just hope to do great projects in the future, stuff I like to do. So it's just fun stuff. Hopefully this film left a standard for me regarding, how me and my cast treat each other. This is a brotherhood that we built, a true brother. I mean, I got it tattooed on my body, so I hope she lets you know what it's like. But I hope that the next project I do, I find something similar. I don't want to add every single tattoo to every single crew I'm a part of, but similar aspect. I usually hope that I just build a brotherhood or a bond with the next people that I work with, and that's what I want to do.
What's the tattoo?
Yeah, we all got matching tattoos after the experience. The tattoos are like a reminder that, as cheesy as it sounds, regardless of where we are in the world and how much time elapses after this experience, we can kind of call on each other and be there for one another. We did develop a really kind of unique and strong brotherhood through this process, and it's nice to know that there's a kind of community of guys who will take care of each other and be there if any one of us needs it.
That was the best way to put it. I'll just say that it just says "Call on Me," just from a song from 2005. Really it. That was a beautiful way to put it, though.
It's important context.
Yeah, it's really what it is. Just as "Call on Me." Yeah, thank you.
And do you both have the tattoo as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. What a rush this was.
Catch Warfare in cinemas now.
When?
April 11th, the United States, and April...
UK, I think it's a week later.
Yeah, it's a week later.
So enjoy.